Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies with your host, Jason Marshall.
How's it going, everybody? It's Jason Marshall here. Still not doing the Facebook thing, just keep everybody updated. And I'm still getting weird notifications. I'm getting push notifications that people are commenting on their own photos. It looks like if you're off Facebook for a couple of days, they freak the fuck out. I don't really understand what all that's about. And just quick update on the virtual reality glasses. They're pretty fucking badass. Don't really know what else to say because it's hard to talk about without showing somebody. If this was a video podcast, it might be a little easier, but one thing that is kind of tough about them is it's sort of hard on your eyes if you have them on too long, so can't really do it for very long. But one thing that isn't hard on your eyes is my guest today, Gary Henry. How you doing, man?
Good, Jason. How you doing?
I'm in a shit mood, man.
Really? What's going on?
The perfect way to start a comedy podcast. I've been worried about that all day. I think it's just one of those days. I started the day out with a funeral. My wife's grandma passed away.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough morning and trying to snap out of it. We're going to do the show today. We're going to have a fun time, and then once this is over, I'm going to go with my kid to watch wrestling.
Oh,
it's our first wrestling event. We're going to go watch WWE. So,
where's that at?
It's at the Nutter Center. So
okay.
It's going to be fun. She's been dying to go for a long time. It's the first time that I've been able to take her. So
yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I hope you're in a better mood than me. You're going to be carrying the show.
Oh man, no pressure. I'm doing all right, man. Had a fun night last night. Got some good sleep, so I'm ready to do the show.
Good. Do you get on Facebook a lot?
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, when you were saying how you're getting notifications, like they freak out when you're not on there. Yeah, I've never had that problem. I'm on there like every 10 minutes, you know?
I'm kind of curious if they do that to everybody. I assume they do. I don't think I'm special, but anybody out there listening, stay off Facebook for a week, send me an email and let me know what happens because they do not like it. I get push notifications asking if I know various people I've never fucking heard of, just hoping maybe that's why he hasn't been on. Maybe he just needs more interesting people in his life.
Right. Yeah, somebody worth talking to. Or
yeah. If you can out there, just give it a shot and see what happens. It is really bizarre.
Yeah. Speaking of bizarre things on Facebook, I don't know if this has happened to you or any of your listeners, but this has happened to my mom several times. Like, we'll be out and about just doing whatever, and having a normal conversation, and then the subject of that conversation shows up on her Facebook page later on that day. It's weird. Like, she was talking to me about a recipe for biscuits and gravy, of all things.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. And then later on that afternoon, we're back at her place, and she's on her Facebook timeline, and right there, boom, a recipe for biscuits and gravy, you know. And I can't think of anything specific, but that's happened to her several times, and it is freaky.
That's weird you say that because I just got on there today, and somebody that I can't say we're friends, but somebody that I know got a show on the Food Network.
Okay.
And it just started, and it was kind of bizarre he got the show because he doesn't really know a lot about cooking. He just likes to eat. And
a food connoisseur.
Yeah, so me and my wife have been talking about it. Like, man, can you believe he got a show? What the fuck? I remember when he was filming it wasn't really the pilot. It was just something to submit, try to get a show.
Okay.
Me and my wife were going back and forth talking about it while we watched it yesterday. And I just happened to get on Facebook. I haven't posted anything about this. I haven't spoken about it on the show. Nothing. Mm-hmm. I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I got a Facebook ad for that guy's show.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that fucking weird? That is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's almost like Facebook is like some kind of entity that's everywhere, you know, just listening in on everybody's conversations, and it's bizarre.
I wanted to ask you a question because you were the last person that I know of that's headlined the New Chapter show.
Okay.
And I remember Dale saying something about how it might be the very last show there.
Right.
So is that still in play, or is it gone away?
You know, something interesting about Dale in the New Chapter, at least every open mic show, he says that it's going to be the last.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's just getting frustrated with it or just getting tired of putting it on, because it is the longest running open mic in the area. I forget exactly how long it's been going on, but yeah, he'll say something like that. Like if the turnout's not, to his liking or whatever, he'll say something like that. But as far as I know, it's going to continue. Like this Tuesday, Jay Snyder, local Dayton comedian, he's headlining. Linda Belt, who's a national touring headliner, she's from Connecticut. She's going to be there. She's in town.
Oh, nice.
Yep, and they're going to be there at the show, so it's supposed to be packed.
Okay, good.
So yeah, it's supposed to be a good turnout.
I always liked going to the shows. I always had a fun time. I haven't been able to make it recently, but it seems like a lot of people talk shit about that show too. So that's got to be kind of frustrating. I mean, I know it's a rough room, but to me, I've always liked it.
Yeah, I love it, man, and that's what scares me whenever Dale says he's not going to do it anymore. It's like, no, I actually love this place. To me, I look at it as a challenge. And I think a lot of comics are scared to do that room just because of the atmosphere and, it's not exactly what they want in an audience, and it's not perfect and it's not supposed to be. It's an open mic at a bar, so of course there are going to be some challenges but that's going to make you better as a comedian.
What's your best new chapter story?
Oh, best new chapter story.
Because it seems like every time I go there, when I leave, there was something interesting that happened, no matter what it was, whether it was something that happened on stage or just something in the crowd. I think the first time you headlined there, I remember there were some rowdy people, and I think you had to wind it up a little early because they were just kind of crazy.
I don't think it was a time that I closed the show, but it can get kind of rough in there. But no, like the first time that I closed the show, it was a complete disaster. What had happened was I'd just come off doing a show for the American Legion in Eaton, Ohio, and the place was packed. I actually opened up for touring headliner Sid Davis, who's from the area. Very funny guy if you get a chance to check him out. But that was like a totally different demographic. There were people in the audience that were like 50 all the way to barely breathing. Yeah. So I had to be, like PG-13, between 13 and 17. And I had a great show, and I figured, okay, I'm going to close out the new chapter. All that stuff worked, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it, at the new chapter. And the problem was it was totally different audience because a local guy, Jake Vance, was just coming back and getting, I don't know if you've met him or not.
Yeah, I was at the show that you're talking about.
Okay, also, you know how bad it went. Well, everybody was excited. His friends were excited that he was getting back into comedy, so they came out to see him. And this place was packed. I mean, it was almost standing room only. And it would have been, but they wouldn't let me hide the chairs. But anyway, I had to sneak that one in there. But yeah, man, I was excited. The crowd was good. There were a lot of people there, but they're all just a younger crowd. So I just did the totally wrong set for that crowd. They didn't want to hear the PG-13 comedy or whatever. So after that, I stayed off stage for like a month and a half. It really messed me up. I got inside my own head about it. I regret doing that because when I did come back, it was like I was starting completely over. My timing was off. Stage presence was gone. My nerves came back. About a couple months after that, I was asked to close the new chapter again. I think I pretty much redeemed myself. I pulled it off, and then this last time, I kind of wrapped it up early because I was losing my voice. I hate that, man. I hate that.
That's the hard part about comedy because every crowd's different. I mean, you could do a show at the Funny Bone. Right. But you take all that away and you take it out of a comedy club setting and you put it anywhere else and God knows what the fuck's going to happen. Especially when you put it in a bar. I mean, that's probably what do you think would be the hardest as far as comedy shows go?
What do you mean, like between
the setting?
A setting?
Yeah, because I've heard of people doing comedy shows at weddings, doing it at bars, opening up for bands. Obviously, I don't think anybody would dispute doing it at a comedy club is probably the best you're going to have as far as the audience being on your side.
Right,
but
right.
The worst, I don't know what that would be.
Well, that could actually go in the opposite direction, too. If you're at a comedy club, people have been to comedy clubs before. You have your regulars, people that come to all the shows and things like that, and they get to see a lot of top-notch comedy. And if you're not on your game, or they can sense that you're not into what you're doing, they won't laugh.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because somebody I know, they went to see Cat Williams, and I forget who they said opened up for him, but they felt really bad because they basically just got booed off the stage after a few minutes. People just didn't want to hear whatever that person had to say.
Yeah, they wanted Cat, yeah.
Yeah, he just wasn't, like you said, he just wasn't up to that standard that they were expecting. I mean, the room just turned on the guy. I don't know what the hell happened. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But that had to, it almost like your thing with the new chapter, that guy had to go home and just sit and wonder.
Man. It's rough. Oh, yeah. But those are the shows that you learn from, though. It's like, I've heard a few comics say, and I've seen posts on Facebook in regards to open mics, it's like, oh, yeah, this person had the best set of the night, got the most laughs and things like that. And my point is, if you're going to an open mic and your goal is to get the most laughs out of everybody else, you're not utilizing your time at that open mic, because open mics, you're supposed to work on your jokes, different timing, different, ways of saying delivery, things like that. And if you're just going just to make people laugh, you're really not going to better yourself.
When I think of what you're talking about, I kind of think of bar shows, things like that.
Okay.
But do you think that the same would be true if they did it at a comedy club, or do you think that they really should kind of put their best foot forward there to sort of showcase themselves to the people that are watching?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, if you're going to an open mic at a comedy club, you should absolutely put your best foot forward, because then you have people at the comedy club who can book you or not book you just based on what you do there. So even though it is an open mic, you want to bring your A game to that. You want to get your practice in and you're at your open mic, at the bars and things like that.
That is a good point. If you're doing an open mic at a bar or something like that, that's a good place to throw out something new that you haven't done before to see if it works. Mm-hmm. At the very least, it's a good place just to try to get your words down, because like you said, bar shows are hard, so they might not laugh, but at least you had practice just saying it and seeing if it sounds right when it comes out.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of comics don't like the new chapter, or are afraid to go in there, because you're not going to have, there might be people in there, but they're not coming in to see comedy. They're just there to drink, and then boom, here's a comedy show. And so some people find it hard when people don't pay attention to them, and I'm guilty of that too. But that's just things you got to get over and move forward from. Also, I'll say this too: when there's somebody like a booker or like a headliner at a bar show, open mic, it's really rough when that's the only time that they've seen you and they see you up there bombing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that you're supposed to, that's where you try out your new material. So if you go and you're on the open mic circuit, we'll call it, I guess, I don't know, and you only see this person at a bar show, open mic or whatever, and they're constantly bombing, that's because they're working on their material and trying to get better and trying to improve what that. If you're interested in seeing that person, go check out one of their shows or something where they're actually doing their top-notch A stuff.
Because Dale, he's a funny guy. He's the guy that runs the new chapter shows, just for people listening. He's very funny.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of jokes he tells at new chapter shows that don't go over, and it's because he's trying it out for the first time. Right. So you're right. It doesn't really show what kind of a comedian you are as far as laughs go.
Right.
He's just, honing his craft, and it pays off when he does shows for Wiley's and other places.
I've had a couple of comics, make comments to me or send me Facebook messages, and it's like, you're not even that funny. I've seen you at the new chapter. You're not that funny. I've seen you at this open mic. You're not that funny. I don't understand how you're doing all these shows. You're not. It's like, dude, come to one of those shows where I'm doing the stuff that I know works and that I've practiced for a couple of years. Don't just come and make your assessment over a couple minutes of new jokes at a bar.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand how cliquish comedy can be. It really is. I don't know if I'd say cutthroat, but Jesus, man, you got to have thick skin and not really give a fuck.
Right, yeah.
It's tough.
It is, and I think that's one of the things that I had to learn when I first started, because I'm I wear my heart on my sleeve. If people know me personally, they know that. So when I got into it, I just tried to be friends with everybody, no matter if you're just starting out or if you've been doing it for years. I try to treat everybody the same. Mm-hmm. There's some things that go on that I just can't let slide. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. But I've learned to tone it down, especially on Facebook, social media. Like, I won't post things publicly. Like, I have a couple people I'll talk to about things, just to kind of blow some steam off or whatever, so I don't have a blow up on social media.
It's good to have you back on the show, because that's one reason that I booked you on the very first show, was I was worried that something would happen down the line where you're just like, fuck that guy. I'm not into this show. Fuck it. And I wanted to make sure I at least had you on once. So I wanted to make sure you were on the very first episode.
Well, that was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate that. And I'm sorry it's taken so long to get back to do another show with you.
But it's fine, because, it kind of sucked back then. So.
Well, hey, you were just starting out,
Yeah.
It's not going to be all aces and gravy.
And believe it or not, it has gotten better. If this is the first time somebody's listened in a while, this isn't a normal show. I'm a little out of it today, and that's another thing I probably should have said right up top. It's not going to be your normal show. We're just going to talk straight through. We're not going to have segments or breaks or anything.
Oh, so I really am carrying the show.
Yeah. But things will be back to normal soon. I just wanted to make sure I got that out there for everybody. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, because next month's going to be a lot of fun. We're bringing back Tonight Show writer Murray Valeriano. Kenny Boland's going to be returning to the show. Choo Choo Stew's going to start his new episode that we're going to have going, where I talk to him once a month. And we're going to start a new episode where we go over this week's Dumbass of the Year for the previous month, and we name a winner. And then at the end of the year, we go over the 12 Dumbasses of the year, and we pick a winner, and fingers crossed we get them on the show.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be a lot of fun. But you drive a truck for a living.
I do. Yep.
I saw this story. It was perfect for you coming on, sort of. I mean, it's not really semi-related, but it's vehicle-related.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Try to line things up. This guy had his car destroyed by a tree. He was out of town. Tree falls on his car, demolishes it. He gets home, pulls into his driveway. Both cars in his driveway were crushed by a tree in a whole different town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that some shit?
He piss off. Yeah.
You know what's great, though? And seeing this dude's attitude blew my fucking mind. Because if it was me, I would just be off in a corner like, Jesus hates me.
That's it. I give up.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's no winning.
Yeah.
Like, both of my cars are destroyed in the exact same manner in two different towns.
Wow.
The universe is out to get me. That's what I'd be thinking.
Yeah, or else he ran over a family of beavers.
Right.
Getting that revenge.
This dude, if I could be more like anybody in the world, it'd have to be him. He said he considers himself the luckiest man in the world because he wasn't in either car and nobody got hurt.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, but still. How do you explain that to your insurance company?
No shit.
Hey, it's me again. Guess what?
I would have to get that guy on the show. We're going to do a follow-up.
Yeah.
I would like to know, because that's some weird shit.
That is.
That doesn't happen every day.
Right.
Filing one claim's enough.
Right.
And insurance companies want to get out of everything.
Oh, yeah.
So you
sure.
know they're investigating the guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's not going to feel like the luckiest man in the world for long.
Yeah, it'd be funny if he was some kind of termite farmer or something.
One thing I did want to ask you, because we're not too far off of us talking about comedy, do you think that being in the truck helps your comedy? Because you have more time to kind of sit and think about what you would like to say, or to sit and kind of craft an already existing joke into something better, like punch it up a little bit.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have about like 8 to 10 hours every night where I'm just sitting there, and I can either be listening to the radio or listening to podcasts, or just going over listening to my sets that I have record. I record every set. Or else, like, if I thought of a premise earlier that day or earlier that week, I'll just sit there and just think over things and, just recite the joke in my head or sometimes out loud. But yeah, absolutely. And when I first started, like, I amassed a large amount of material. I had one guy ask me, he's like, man, how do you do that? How do you come up with, because, well, I made the beginner rookie mistake of always having a new 5 minutes every time I hit the stage, which is a big no-no. You know, I found out a couple years later. Anyway, but he's like, how do you come up with all this material? And it's like, well, dude, I'm a truck driver. I sit in the truck 8-10 hours a day, and all I have to do is think about stuff. That's it. Like, well, they say if you're going to write, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do is write, because that's when you're closest to your subconscious mind. And it's before you get distracted with the daily goings-on of life. Mm-hmm. So I think that also applies when I'm driving my truck. You know, part of my mind's distracted with everything that's going on, you know, with the duties of driving a truck. And then I can free up my creative mind to think about jokes and come up with topics and punchlines and things like that. So, yeah, it definitely does help. Absolutely. Also, it's detrimental, though, because, you know, I work third shift, so I don't get a chance to get out a lot, go open mics or go watch shows and things like that. So
that was going to be one of my follow-up questions, was asking if third shift, if you thought that helped or hurt you. Because a lot of shows are kind of late. I don't know what time your shift starts. I didn't know if your shift would start pretty much around the time the shows would end, so you could make it before you went. And if you had a bad set, that would be nice, because you bomb and then you just go somewhere and take your mind off of it for 8 straight hours instead of going home and wondering what the fuck you did.
Not really, because if I have a bad set and I got to go drive my truck, then I'm thinking about that all night. And if I got pissed off at some point, you know, I might hurt somebody. But no, well, I start my shift between midnight and 12:30, and my biggest problem is sleep. It's like if I go out and if I do a show, like let's say it's an hour away, that's an hour of sleep that I'm not getting because I got to drive to the show and then do the show and then drive an hour back and then be ready in time to go to work, you know. So it's like it's sleep deprivation. That's not fun when you're trying to drive an 18-wheeler. I mean, there's pros and cons. I know people say if you're really serious about comedy, you should just give up everything and pursue it. That's kind of hard when you have a family you got to provide for and you're the main income in that family and things.
Yeah, and comedy's a crapshoot, man.
Yeah.
You're not, there's nothing guaranteed in life, and there's even less guaranteed in comedy.
Right. And some people are under the mindset of, well, if I just stick with it for 10 years, I'm going to automatically be famous.
Nah.
There's a little luck involved. It's a little more to it than just slugging it out for 10 years and then, somebody's going to hand you your golden ticket.
There's people who've done comedy for 20 plus years and they're features. You're not making a shitload of money. No. It's hard to support a family. It's not the easiest thing in the world, man. So people who think that they're just going to get into this and be the next Bill Burr, you're fucking kidding yourself.
Right, yeah.
Bill Burr barely became Bill Burr. Mm-hmm. The funny part is, and I'm sure you know this, the reason Bill Burr's Bill Burr is because he was bombing and he just lashed out at the crowd and somehow, well, it was, Philly, I think?
Yeah.
So him lashing out in the crowd actually turned the crowd to his favor.
Right,
which is not the norm.
Yeah,
but in Philly, you know, like you said, man, there's some luck involved in it too, because Bill Burr was struggling just like anybody else.
Right.
As funny as everybody thinks he is, he wasn't doing great.
Right. And that's, you know, that's the story with a lot of famous comedians. You know, it's just something happened. You got the ball rolling and they ended up making it. But like when I first started, you know, I had the dream of, go to Hollywood and, you know, be famous and all this and that. But I think right now I would just be happy with, like, if I could get into more, like, corporate work, eventually end up on a cruise ship somewhere, you know, doing that type of thing rather than hopping around from club to club headlining, you know, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I would want.
There's money to be made out there doing that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Have you taken any steps towards that?
Besides writing and performing, no, not really.
Okay. I didn't know if there was like a certain path to get that, because I haven't done stand-up in a while now, so I'm kind of out of it, and I never really thought about going that direction. So I'm not asking to try to set you up. I just didn't know if there was like a way to...
You know, I'm not too sure either. Like right now, I'm just concentrating on performing and writing. And before I start to do the research on how I can get into that or whatever, I just want to have everything honed and, have something to offer before I go looking. It's all on who you know, basically.
Do you got any good bombing stories or heckler stories or anything like that?
Everybody has a good bombing story. If they say they don't, they're lying. Well, let's see here. I already told you the one about the new chapter. Okay, here's one. Last year, right around Christmas, like right before Christmas, there was a guy who posted in Dayton Comics, which is a local comedy page on Facebook. That's where you get information on shows and things. He was asking for people to come out and do a show at the Dayton VFW. Of course, I'm trying to get on any kind of show that I can. So I told him that, yeah, I'd be interested. So he went ahead and got a few more comics together. And, I'm just assuming, 10 minutes. And I guess in part it was my fault for not asking. But 2 days before the show, I found out that he expected everybody to perform 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't have 20 minutes. I still don't have 20 minutes. Nothing that's worthy of whatever, but so we get there and it was just a nightmare from the beginning, dude. It was like we pulled up and it was real foggy that night and there was one tiny little light over the VFW that was lit. Otherwise, you would have just drove right past the place. The sign out front, there was nothing about a comedy show. I think there was something about bingo night or something. So we pull in, and there was maybe one or two cars in the parking lot, and this was like 20 minutes before showtime.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, dude. So it was just us comics sitting there in the parking lot because we didn't think there was anybody inside. We didn't know. A couple more people show up, and they ended up going inside. I'm like, well, let me go in here and see if this guy is, in there. And, he's sitting there at the table taking money and things. So I go out and get the other comics. And I apologize for just rambling, but
no, you're fine.
I've never had a chance to tell anybody this before, but so right before the show, he asked for our, how we wanted to be brought up, our introductions. Nobody had any paper, and I had, a little notebook that I always carry with me in my pocket, so I pass that out to everybody. And there's like 10 people, and they were all his friends. Okay, and this is at a VFW.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, all he did was rent the space, okay? He ended up yelling at us for not bringing people. And it's like, dude, we're at a VFW. You're supposed to advertise and get the members to come in. And he didn't do any advertising, just asking people on Facebook to come out. Anyway, to make a long story kind of short, it was a horrible experience for me. He had, his sound system, I swear to God, I think I had something like this when I was a kid. It was just a little tiny box and a cordless microphone. And he just sat it up wherever he thought would be good for sound. So the part where I'm bombing, I'm the only white dude there.
Mm-hmm.
That means on the show and in the audience, which doesn't bother me one bit, but I have to address it, right?
Yeah.
So I got the crowd to laugh. When I went up there, and I'm like, and it was right before Christmas, and so they had it kind of decorated in there, and I'm like, the only thing whiter on stage is this Christmas tree behind me, and that was probably about the only laugh that I got.
You're the guy at the Cat Williams show.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what happened was I broke some rules of comedy. I started off with a joke that I'd never told before. Because I was freaking out because he wanted me to do 20 minutes, so I was just trying to come up with anything,
right?
To fill time or whatever. So I started off with a joke that I'd never told before. I tried to do crowd work my very first time with a joke that didn't go over well. The guy ended up getting up and walking out of the room.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he went to go.
What was the joke?
I don't even want... I was trying to do something about Kegels. Mm-hmm. You know what that is, right? Yeah. I was trying to do something about that where I was trying to ask the guy if he knew what they were. He was trying to play it off like he didn't. I mean, maybe he didn't or whatever. And so I tried to explain it to him. And the whole thing was so I could get to this punchline where I say, Kegels, when you have sex, it makes it feel like you stick your fingers in one of those Chinese finger traps.
Yeah.
He didn't know what a Chinese finger trap was, so I tried to explain it to him. Well, it's this little toy that you stick your fingers in and you try to pull it out and it just gets tighter, right? I said, yeah, I got a Chinese finger trap at home, but my wife doesn't like that nickname. And so I go through this whole spiel trying to do crowd work with the guy just to get to that punchline, which I still think it's an all right, but it was just way too long and they weren't into it and everybody was just uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable. I tried to go back to my old stuff. They didn't want to hear that. And this was right around the time where they had the shooting in Cincinnati, the black guy that got pulled over because he didn't have a license plate or something like that. I had come up with something that I wanted to try there. And not just because I wasn't pandering to the audience or anything, but I legitimately felt this way. That really didn't go well. And I ended up just saying, I tried to leave on an inspiring note instead of a joke.
Oh, shit. What was it?
I was just...
Can't we all just get along?
Pretty much. Basically, it's like you just love each other. Just love each other. Love each other. And I'm like, oh, my... I was floundering, dude. I was scrambling around. It was horrible.
Were you able to get through your time, the whole 20? Or?
I don't even know. I don't know because I've yet to listen to that recording. I haven't listened to that set, dude. I can't bring myself to listen to it. It was just so horrible. I think maybe 12 to 15, maybe.
When you're not expecting it, man, that's a long time.
It is, yeah.
I don't think people realize how long it is when you're up there speaking in front of a crowd.
Right.
And when you double the time last minute like that, it's damn near impossible.
Yeah, so I had that going on in my mind. I tell you what, though, I did my best work from the audience. I got more laughs sitting in the audience than I did when I was on stage. Because, this guy, after every comic set, he would come up and do like 5 minutes of his own material. That's crazy.
I hate it when they do that. Just get up there, make a comment, bring the next guy up.
Right,
because
yeah.
You're not hosting the show. You're putting yourself over. You're headlining the show without headlining the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you're doing.
That's what it felt like. It felt like he put this whole thing together so he could get up there on stage and do his time. Yeah, he made the mistake, and I don't know why comics do this, but he made the mistake of trying to do crowd work with a comedian. You don't do that, because you don't know what, comedians by nature are going to be more quick-witted than just regular, we'll call them civilians, whatever, but normies. But yeah, he said something like, he's trying to set up a joke or whatever he's doing. He's like, I'll ask you, Gary, let's say I walk up to you and say I'm going to kick your ass. Would you be scared of me? And all I did was look around. I'm like, maybe in this room. Yeah, that got a big laugh, but he's like, oh, fuck. He's like, I don't know what to say to that, man. Thanks. And it's like, don't do crowd work with comedians. Up. Yeah.
You said that you did some crowd work that night. Was that your first time trying that?
Yeah.
Was it your last time trying that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because that's kind of a skill set all on its own.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. Jimmy Pardo. Jimmy is one of the funniest people. If you haven't heard of him out there, you have to look the guy up. I don't know if the guy has a joke. He just goes to a comedy club and he talks to people in the audience, and he's funny as hell for an hour straight. I'm sure he's got jokes that he sprinkles in, but the guy's 90% crowd work, and that's unreal.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's other people that, they don't want to try it, and I can't say I blame them.
Right. Like right now, I'm just more focused on just telling my jokes, memorizing my jokes, and trying different deliveries and setups and things like that. I don't even want to go out into the crowd, unless I have to, like dealing with a heckler or whatever. Even that, I really haven't had to do too many times. Yeah, dude, it honestly kind of scares me a little bit, because you don't know what they're going to say or what they're going to come back with. And if you're not on the ball, if you don't have your shit together, they can take over the show.
Well, that was what I was going to say is if you do that, you kind of give them license to talk during the show.
Exactly.
Because you've just opened up this can of worms.
Yep.
And if you're on earlier in the show, if you're not the headliner, now you've just kind of set the pace. And if the next person doesn't get up there and just shut them down, that's kind of rough. Because I've heard of, I forget who it was. It was on Murray's podcast, the Road Stories podcast. He was talking to somebody. And the lady got in trouble for doing crowd work because the headliner said, "Man, I don't want to get up there and have to tell them to shut the fuck up because you started them talking.
Right.
They would have never started talking. They were quiet the whole damn show till you got up there, and now I got to get up there, and they're disrupting the whole flow."
I'm glad you're saying this too because I was just thinking about this, and it's been on my mind lately. I've seen people in the hosting spot do crowd work. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
That's as early as you can set that bar, and you don't want to do that. Yeah.
And that's another reason why I'm not worried about doing crowd work right now, because my next step is from open mic to hosting. And I do not think a host should do crowd work at all. I think all that should be saved for the headliner or at least the feature or whatever. Let them deal with it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It gives people permission to talk throughout the performance. If you don't do crowd work as a headliner and the people want to engage and think they're a part of the show and think they can talk to the comics, that's going to be hard. Mm-hmm. You know, the headliner is going to look like a dick. But yeah, I saw one show where this guy was hosting. One of the first things he says after welcoming everyone, doing the introductions and all that, "How you guys doing? You guys married? It's like, dude, what are you doing? How do you know that's not part of the headliner shtick? He's going to come behind you and ask all the same questions and look like a dumbass, you know?" So that's my take on crowd work. You don't do it from the hosting spot.
Yeah.
Your job is to do the introductions, talk into the microphone, and get people to pay attention to what's going on stage and let them know, hey, we got a show going on. Your job's not to do crowd work, and I don't even know why this person, I don't know. It was just weird to see that.
Yeah, especially if you include alcohol.
Yeah.
Then it's just all over because it's hard enough for a drunk to shut the fuck up anyway.
Yeah.
Because they want to get involved, man. They're watching a show. It's fun. They're inebriated to the point where they don't have any inhibitions anymore. It's the whole karaoke syndrome. You know, you throw a bunch of drunk people in a bar, they may never sing, but they see a bunch of people up there singing and having fun. They're drunk. Too. So, yeah, exactly. Because I've seen that happen a couple of times, not a lot, at the New Chapter, where I have no idea what the dude's name was because it only happened a couple of times. But there was a Hispanic guy who came in, and he was drinking at the bar, and he wouldn't shut up. And I remember Dale said something to him, trying to quiet him down, like, hey, because Dale's real good at policing the room. Dale's great. And he came up and said, hey, man, you need to quiet down. If you want to go up there, that's fine. I'll put you on the list.
Right.
Well, the guy said, well, sign me up. Dale signed him up. He got up there, and he was all right. The funny part about that guy was he was the classic drunk that wanted to try it out because everybody else is having fun.
Yeah.
And he gets up, he does his jokes. They were just basically funny stories about his grandpa or whatnot.
Yeah.
He saw a couple of other people get up there, and he thought, I need another turn because I enjoyed my first time, and I think I could probably just get on the list again if I start talking.
Yeah.
I think Dale had to shut him down because I do remember him trying to get up there, and Dale said, man, you're just going to have to come back next month. I can't just let you come back up and do an encore for no one who wants it. It's the person who's closing out the show's time.
Right.
And let's get on with the show. But
yeah. That's funny because I think people that heckle should be made to get up there. I was watching on YouTube, there's a video, and that's exactly what happened. It was at a club, and this guy just kept heckling all the comedians. Well, they made him come back like a week or a month later, whatever it was, and get on stage. And he totally just bombed. Right. But he learned his lesson. He apologized to everyone. He wrote this letter. I think he wrote a note or whatever, apologizing to everybody. And so I think that, that was a good idea. Put him on stage. And
what was the reason you got on stage the first time?
Do you want the truth or do you want the act?
I would like a really good lie because we're trying to entertain. So,
well, okay. Well, I'm a truck driver, right?
Uh-huh.
And I had a lot of truck drivers ask me to tell them jokes on the CB. And so I decided to try comedy. I don't know what's going to happen, but if I never get Hollywood famous, at least I can say I was semi-famous. But
I was going to say that should be your name. You just go by CB Funny.
CB Funny. Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, so that's part of the act. But if you want the real answer, it was, it was really my sister. She was pushing me. She's like, you should try stand-up. You should try stand-up. You're funny. Try stand-up. And I just kept putting it off. And then things in my head started clicking. Like I started thinking up jokes that I'm like, yeah, I could try this on stage. And what really did it for me, though, is I was watching YouTube videos of stand-ups. There was a kid, I think he was 11 years old at the time, with cerebral palsy. And it was Britain's Got Talent. He walks out with a walker, and his name's escaping me right now. But he comes out there, he does 5 minutes, just blows everybody away. I'm like, that's it. If that little guy can get up there in front of millions of viewers and whoever's out in the audience and do that, there's no reason why I can't try at least once. So I did, got hooked. That's how I got into it.
Nice.
A little tearjerker story there.
Well, we're going to go from that to this week's Dumbass of the Year. This week's Dumbass of the Year comes to us from the UK. It was a man who police are looking for that stole 2 pizzas while dressed as a bottle of beer. I'm not sure who the dumbass in the situation is. The police who can't find a man dressed as a beer bottle? Or a guy who thought it would be okay to steal 2 pizzas while dressed as a beer bottle?
Wow. So what did he do? Did he steal them out of a pizza delivery guy's car?
No, he was dressed as, and it was a Heineken bottle.
Okay.
Walked into a pizza place.
See, that's the problem. The police are looking for a guy named Budweiser.
I made that joke to my wife earlier.
Oh, did you really?
But he walked into a pizza place and went into the employee area, took 2 pizzas, walked out, never saw him again.
Nobody said shit. Wow.
Yeah, my joke to my wife was they walked up asking people if they saw anything, and they were like, "It's dressed as a beer bottle, huh?" And they show him a picture, and he's like, "The guy I'm thinking of had Bud Light. This is Heineken." So that does bring up a good point. Who do you think would be the dumbass in that? The police who can't catch a man dressed as a beer bottle, or the guy who decides to commit a crime dressed as a beer bottle?
Well, I don't know, man, because the guy dressed as a beer bottle got away with it.
Yeah.
So, and then again, all he has to do is take off the costume. That's why the police can't find him. So, I mean,
that's a great point. I was talking to my wife about that too, is that conceals everything. You don't know what color hair he has. You don't know his build. You don't know anything about this guy because everything's concealed in this costume.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he might be able to fit into a beer bottle, but he might be shaped like a wine glass. Yeah. Oh, that was dumb. But anyway.
The only way you could catch that guy is if they put out the APB and somebody says, Frank has a beer bottle costume, and he's the only one in London who owns a beer bottle costume. It might be that guy.
Yeah, right.
Before we get out of here, I noticed that we had somebody download the show this week from the Cayman Islands.
Oh, wow.
Most shows, I don't think I do it every time, but I say go to wedon'thavecookies.com. You can see the contact info. There's also a donate button at the bottom of the page. If you're listening to this show in the Cayman Islands, hook me up. I know you got money. You're in the Cayman Islands.
No kidding.
I know I was off this show. I apologized for that at the start. But come on. I put out 100 and some shows for you guys. If you're rich, send me a couple of dollars. I don't ask for much. But I wanted to make sure I threw that out there. And I'm sure you got some stuff to plug.
Sure, yeah. This coming Saturday, January 28th, I'm doing a breast cancer awareness benefit at a place called Bojangles in Dayton, Ohio. Got some funny comedians on that. That's put on by Ranson Carr. And then the day after that, in Springdale, which is a suburb of Cincinnati, I got a contest at Indulge. So if you guys want to come out and support, that'd be awesome. If not, that's cool. Everything else I have is either I'm drawing a blank on or too far in the future to mention. So
Okay. Where can people find you on social media?
Facebook.
Or do you want them to?
Facebook is fine. Just Gary R. Henry. I had to throw the R in there because apparently there's some youth pastor named Gary Henry, and you know, people were getting us mixed up and asking him for a good dick joke. So I figured I'd put my middle initial in there. Twitter, you can find me on Twitter. You know, I do some stuff on there.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening to the episode. Again, I apologize. Things were a little off this week. Maybe next week I'll do it when there isn't a funeral right before the show. It was kind of bad timing. We already had things lined up, and I wanted to make sure I had Gary on. He's always a good guest, and by always, I mean the 2 times he's been on. I make it out like you're on every other week or some shit.
Right.
But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Hope to have you on again soon.
Yeah, it was fun, man. Thanks for having me.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. We're on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and everywhere else. So make sure you subscribe. We're going to have a lot of good shows coming in February, and I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review.
I'm kind of out of it.